Some wars are not meant to be won. They are meant to be continued. I have watched empires rise and fall for 2,500 years. I have seen generals conquer continents and kings lose everything overnight. But what is happening between Israel and Palestine is something rarer and far more dangerous. It is not a war that anyone is losing. It is a war that no one can win. And the difference between those two things is everything. Every army that has entered this conflict, with superior weapons, with international backing, with righteous justification, has emerged strategically weaker than when it arrived. Not because the enemy was unbeatable, but because the war itself was a trap. And they walked in with their eyes open. I wrote about this trap 2,500 years ago. Not about this land, not about these people, but about this exact strategic condition, when the terrain itself becomes the weapon of your enemy. When the longer you fight, the more you lose. When victory on the battlefield produces defeat at every other level. What you are about to see is not a political analysis. I serve no flag. I have no side. What I will show you is the strategic architecture of an unwinnable conflict. Who built it? Who maintains it? Who profits from its continuation? And why every outside power that touches it gets consumed. Subscribe. Because what I'm about to show you, no news channel will ever have the precision to explain. Look at the board. Not through the lens of morality, through the lens of strategy. On one side, Israel, a nation of 9 million people surrounded by hostile neighbors, built on a foundation of existential threat, armed with one of the most sophisticated militaries on Earth. Iron Dome, F-35s, nuclear capability, intelligence services that have executed operations deep inside enemy territory for decades. By every conventional metric, an overwhelming force. On the other side, Gaza, 365 square kilometers, 2.3 million people, no standing army, no air force, no navy. A fractured political structure split between Hamas in Gaza and the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. Two factions that distrust each other as much as they distrust Israel. An economy strangled by blockade. A population where the median age is 18 years old. On paper, this is not a war. It is a mismatch. And yet, Israel has been fighting this conflict in one form or another since 1948. 76 years, with every strategic and technological advantage imaginable. And the situation today is not resolved. It is not closer to resolution. In many ways, it is more combustible than ever. This is the first signal a strategist reads. When a superior force cannot achieve a decisive outcome against an inferior force over decades, the problem is not the enemy. The problem is the nature of the conflict itself. October 7, 2023 changed the visible shape of the war. Hamas launched a coordinated assault that killed 1,200 Israelis, the deadliest attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust. Israel responded with a military campaign in Gaza of historic intensity. Tens of thousands dead, a territory reduced to rubble. And yet, Hamas was not destroyed. The hostages were not all recovered. And Israel found itself isolated on the world stage in ways its strategists never anticipated. Both sides made critical errors. But one error is older, deeper, and more decisive than all the others. I will show it to you now. There is a principle I wrote that every general memorizes, and almost none truly understands. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Not because fighting is dishonorable, but because fighting is expensive. Every battle consumes resources, legitimacy, and human will. A war that cannot be ended through politics will never be ended through force. And a war that cannot be ended through force will never be ended through politics alone. This is the trap. Both sides walked into it, for different reasons, with the same devastating result. Israel's broken rule. They have consistently won every battle and lost the larger war of legitimacy. In military terms, undefeated. In strategic terms, bleeding. Every operation in Gaza, 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, 2023, followed the same pattern: overwhelming force, tactical victory, strategic stalemate. Each round producing more rubble, more global isolation, and a new generation of enemies born from the ruins. I warned about this. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. Every year this continues, Israel trades military dominance for strategic exhaustion. Hamas's broken rule is the mirror image. They mastered survival, but survival is not victory. They built their military infrastructure beneath hospitals and civilian homes by design. They weaponized their own population's suffering, calculating that Israel's response would generate international condemnation. They were right. But a general who sacrifices his own people as a strategic asset has lost something no battlefield restores. He can only destroy, including himself. The Romans faced this in Judea. Titus destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD, won every battle, eliminated the resistance. And yet, the idea he was fighting outlasted his empire by 2,000 years. You cannot kill an idea with an army. This is what both sides refuse to accept. And this is precisely why no one can win. So what would I have done? What does the strategy that no one is executing actually look like? First, understand what victory must mean before a single move is made. This is the error that precedes all others. I wrote, "The general who wins the battle makes many calculations before the battle is fought." Neither side defined a victory condition that was achievable and sustainable. Israel's stated goal after October 7th was to destroy Hamas. But Hamas is not a military unit. It is an idea embedded in a population that has known nothing but siege for 17 years. You cannot destroy it with airstrikes. Every bomb that kills a family creates 3 new recruits. Hamas, in turn, has no realistic path to statehood through violence. The strategy produces suffering, not liberation. What history proves is the only path that works: completely separate the military problem from the political problem. They are not the same war. Treating them as one is why both are lost simultaneously. The military problem. Neutralize the specific command structures that plan attacks. Precision, speed, surgical. Not prolonged occupation, which always becomes a recruitment engine for the next generation. Every day of occupation is a propaganda victory for the occupied. The political problem. Create conditions where the population has something to lose by supporting armed resistance. An economy, a future, a state. People do not choose war when peace offers more. They choose war when war is the only option left on the table. The catastrophic error of every outside power, the United States, the Arab states, Europe, is funding the conflict without funding the alternative. They send weapons or aid, never a credible political architecture that makes the weapons unnecessary. They think they are managing the conflict. They are feeding it. Here is what comes next. Not as opinion, as strategic inevitability. The cycle continues. Another ceasefire, another collapse, another round of fighting more destructive than the last. The population of Gaza, half of whom are under 18, will produce a generation shaped entirely by rubble, loss, and rage. Israel will face a security threat in 2035 that makes October 7th look like a warning shot. And the outside powers will continue holding emergency sessions, issuing statements, and changing nothing. Because changing something requires dismantling the very frameworks, political, economic, military, that currently serve their interests. The Arab states do not want a strong Palestinian state. It would destabilize their own regimes. The United States does not want a resolution that removes its strategic leverage in the region. Iran does not want peace in Gaza. Hamas is a pressure valve it uses against Israel whenever it needs a diversion. Every actor that claims to want peace has a structural interest in the conflict's continuation. This is not a conspiracy. This is strategy. And strategy, unlike morality, does not lie. Now, the lesson. Because the art of war was never only about nations. In your own life, you will face conflicts that cannot be won by force alone. A relationship, a professional rivalry, a battle against an institution larger than you. The principle is the same. If you have been fighting the same war for years without resolution, the problem is not your opponent. The problem is that you have not separated what can be solved by action from what can only be solved by changing the conditions entirely. Stop fighting the battle in front of you. Change the terrain. Some wars are not meant to be won. They are meant to be continued by those who benefit from your exhaustion. The moment you understand that is the moment you stop being a piece on the board and start being the one who moves them.